Today is the 9th of September. Just over 25 years ago, I did a little booklet giving the background to the Psalms and Canticles of week 1 of the morning prayer of the church. I shared on the Monday morning prayer from the Canticle how the Lord provided for us back in 1984 when we lived in the northeast of England. It was the week leading up to Easter, and on Wednesday morning, Father O'Gorman reminded us about the collection for the poor places on Holy Thursday. I remember going home and telling Arling, I felt the Lord said to me that I was to give in the £10 note that I had in my pocket for the collection the next day. We didn't have any savings, and all we had was the £10 note and a 2p piece. Arling said, that's okay. The Lord has provided before, He will provide again. The next payday wasn't for over another week. But anyway, after praying about it, I made the decision and was content and happy to give to the Lord. The next morning I was leaving the house to go to the church, and on my way out in the porch, there was an envelope on the carpet that had been pushed through the letterbox, and it said Jerry on the front. Inside was a £20 note. And that evening our friends Tom and Nora brought 2 huge corned beef and potato pies to the house and said that they had been thinking about us. I'd like to share some more instances of how the Lord provided again. That same year in 1984, a few weeks after Easter in May, Frances Hogan spent a week sharing the scriptures in our parish. One evening she shared a word that I believe was meant for me and nobody else. I went home and told Arling. She came with me the next morning, and lo and behold, the same word was spoken. I told Arling that that word was meant for me. Now, back in 1982, I had 2 discs removed and was out of work ever since. And in my heart I knew that I'd never work again in England. The next morning, my father phoned and offered me a job in Strabane, in the place where he worked, as he was approaching retirement age. So I went to the Dole office and told them that I had been offered a job in Northern Ireland, could they help with the travelling expenses, etc. They told me that if I had lived anywhere between Land's End and John O'Groats, they could help me. But they didn't class Northern Ireland as part of the UK. So that put a hold on things. My father was retiring in June, and he posted a letter offering me a job in the Bureau de Change. I took the letter to the Dole office, and one of the people in there told me that new guidelines had just come in, and they would move me, my family, and all our furniture for free. I just had to get some removal quotes. That night, I had a piece of hardboard that I painted white. Next morning, I had a big red marker, wrote on it, for sale, nailed it to the frame of the front door, went off to Mass. After Mass, I went to the shops to do some shopping, came home, and Arling told me that a couple living in the next street saw the sign, and Arling accepted their offer. The house was sold. 2 weeks later, I was back in Strabane, and I left Arling to sort out the removal and the packing. Eventually, we all moved into a new house that was being built. We'd even been given the deposit until it was completed. The furniture arrived from storage in England and was all paid for. When we had lived in the northeast of England, we had been involved in giving choice weekends for single people within the church. We were part of a national team. I was an electrician by trade, and we had arranged a weekend in Strabane for the first week in December. I had requested the weekend off many weeks in advance. That Thursday morning before the weekend, I had been working in the premises on the Strand Road in Derry. The person who owned the business over the phone told me that I couldn't have the weekend off. He went on and on about it wasn't very Christian to leave all the hard work to the other employees. He wasn't having it, and neither was I. So I said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle in my path." I was instantly sacked. On the drive back to Strabane, I just kept praising the Lord. I told Arling what had happened, and I told her that I was going to the secretary at the back of the church to get hymn sheets printed for the weekend. I'd never met the person before, didn't even know her name. I knocked, opened the door, and the first word she said to me was, "Do you know any good electricians?" I eventually ended up getting the job as the foreman for the new building called the Melmount Centre. Moving on to 2012, I went over to Gateshead to visit my brother Kieran, who was the parish priest at St Augustine's Church. He'd just gone into hospital, having been diagnosed with prostate cancer. At the Mass on Sunday morning, they were taking up the collection, and most of the women around me who were searching through their handbags, they were putting all their loose change into the basket. This filled me with indignation, because the Lord is not a waiter, and he doesn't need our tips. So I reached into my wallet and pulled out the biggest note I could find. It was a £50 note, and it went into the basket. I thought no more about it, because the Lord loves a cheerful giver. That evening, I went to visit my brother. He gave me an envelope that one of his visitors had given to him for me. I opened the envelope, and inside was £100 in notes. Yes, the Lord indeed provides. So feel free to share this testimony with whoever you like, and thank you for listening, and God bless.